this rigorous amount of survey work should really put anybody's mind at ease that they've got secure boundaries, they've got a secure purchase of the land, right?
Absolutely, and unfortunately, they don't see the rigorous part of the process.
That's never the case.
No, they only see the final title, and this is why the government terms it as absolute title.
So I'm here with Mr. O'Neill, who runs a company on island called Survey Solution Limited. And my understanding is you work for private clients and submit surveys to Land Registry, is that?
That's correct, sir.
That's correct,
That's
yeah.
correct.
And we've actually had a professional relationship now for the past, well, it's been the whole 16 years, right?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, time flies.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that I just wanted to go through today is really just to try and help clients understand the concept, the security and the structure of how their land parcels are surveyed and registered.
If I could take a moment to ask a quick favour. If you enjoy watching our videos, hit the subscribe button below. It's free and quick, and it helps us to keep creating content that you really want to see about the Cayman Island real estate.
So a lot of our clients purchase lots that would be either waterside or beachfront. In which case, how do you actually define the high watermark for these type of coastline properties?
Okay, well, we define them based on the type of high watermark feature. So in some instances, there is a beach, and that's the most common, there's a beach. And so we actually use our GPS and we look for a value, a contour value of 1 foot.
Okay.
And once we find that 1 foot on the ground, we actually survey that position. We then plot that position and submit that to Lands and Survey Department for registration, and that becomes the high water mark. Then there's other type of boundary, high water mark boundary, and these are iron shore, and we would survey the edge, the outer edge of the iron shore, plot that or draw that, and submit those to Lands and Survey Department. That is then registered, and that becomes a high water mark. And then there's the mangrove edge, which we will do the same thing. We will survey it, draw it, and submit to Lands and Survey Department. That becomes the high water mark boundary. And these are actually primarily done in Grand Cayman, but there's a slightly different approach on the sister islands, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, where we physically look for where the water makes a line on the ground.
Okay.
Right, and then we will actually survey that line on the ground, and that becomes the high water mark by means of drawing it, submitting it to Lands and Survey Department, and it's registered as the high water mark.
Okay. I mean, it's my understanding that in some other countries, in other jurisdictions, such as Florida, for example, if you own a property that's going to be on the waterside, you don't necessarily privately own the beach. It still remains public at the back. Is it the case here in Cayman, if you were to own an actual beach lot, where you survey out to the high watermark, that's all privately owned by the client?
Yes, it's all privately owned by the client. So going from, let's say in normally the case, from the road to the back of the property, which is the high water mark boundary line, the client would own all of that. And the seaside is referred to as the Queen's Bottom, and so that's public. That's actually for the government. There are instances where section of the property would be reserved for like public beach, right? But those are clearly defined on each parcel. It cannot be mistaken. So, so to answer your question in short, too, is that it's always owned by the individual purchaser.
So essentially, it's their own private beach.
It's their own private beach, right?
Which is very alluring, right? It's very attractive.
Right.
So when you're physically marking out these boundaries, what techniques or sort of tools do you utilize to physically do that? You mentioned about GPS.
Yes. So we use our GPS, which basically gives us works with the geoid, the GPS geoid for obtaining satellite signals, and then we look for the 1 foot contour line or the mangrove edge
Sure.
or the iron shore edge, and that is the method that we use.
So once located, so once you're in all four corners of the lot, you actually use brass marker caps, right, to mark out those.
Exactly. So, and in fact, I actually have a brass cap right here.
Okay.
And this is what we use to physically mark the boundary in most instances. So this cap is placed on top of a iron rod, which is put inside the ground, and that becomes the physical mark that everyone sees.
Yeah.
The landowners and the adjoining owners, and everybody will understand that that is their boundary
This is their
position,
boundary mark,
and
yeah.
the 2 points of that would make their boundary line. Right.
And this is the case for both commercial and residential, right? It's for all properties
For all
in Cayman.
property.
Now, it does say here on the engraving, and obviously I've seen these marker caps everywhere, but it does say on here it's a boundary beacon, as you've explained.
Right.
It does say that CI government, that there is a penalty for removal.
Right, exactly. So these are actually legal positions. Once they are in the ground and they are registered, they should not be removed. And it's a penalty, it's illegal to remove them, because boundary marks would then go through a checking process, which we may explain later. Go through a checking process, and then it becomes a legal position, and the penalty are illegal to move them.
So this essentially protects people's boundary lines as well. So there's no
Exactly.
infringement onto other
Perfect.
people, landowners or lots.
Perfect, yes.
Okay, now there is also, on these marker caps, a unique reference number.
Yes.
How, when these are installed, how is that registered with government here in Cayman?
Okay, so the same mark that we will see here is then, like for example, in this one, it's DA528, and this mark is then placed on the survey plan, the fixed boundary survey plan, and then it's then submitted to Lands and Survey Department. Lands and Survey Department carries out a rigorous check, and then they register the plan, and once it's registered, then it becomes final and final. It becomes final, finish.
So how would the government essentially confirm that those boundaries have been surveyed and that it's been registered? Is there a central system where
Yes.
this can be identified?
Okay, so how do they confirm this? They actually look at our information that we submit to the government themselves. We would prepare, let's say, a 20, 30 page, 50 page, 100 page report document, and it has all our research and all the records, the previous records of what the boundaries should be, and it shows our data collection, the raw data, and so forth. So the government, the survey department section, they actually check all of this to confirm that what we have done matches their records that they have, and what any additional stuff that we have done have been done by the proper procedures and so forth, and by means of checking our raw data if we have done it properly. And there are instances that they may actually go out on site and to look at the marks or look at whatever else that needs to be of any concern. And once they are satisfied with their checking process and any investigation or visitation that they may made, then they authenticate the plan and later register the plan, which is to confirm to the client and to the public that the work that the surveyor has done is correct.
So this, I mean, to me, it sounds like a very meticulous and rigorous process. Is that due to Cayman Islands, all three of the islands essentially being islands and land being valuable in its resource?
In some way, yes, but I think I'm not sure about most jurisdictions, right? But the Cayman Islands do carry out a very rigorous check. There are other places, there are other jurisdictions that rather than accepting, in let's say a 100-page report, they may accept a plan and 2 or 3 pages of computer sheets, right? But here in the Cayman Islands, the surveyor would have to go through a proper report, or rather an extensive report, and submitting that extensive report for it to go through a very rigorous, meticulous check.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then once they are satisfied, once the government and the chief surveyor at Lands and Survey Department is satisfied that everything is done in compliance to their standard and the records that exist on the property, the survey records that exist on the property, then they authenticate it and deem it to be final and later register it.
I think it certainly goes without question when individuals are purchasing land in the Cayman Islands, that they're safe in the knowledge that their boundaries are well secure, their ownership of those boundaries are secure due to the type of work that you guys do, right?
Yes, right. So it's two things due to the type of work that we do. So one of the method in which we do it, we actually survey each boundary twice. Each boundary mark twice. It's what we call a double fixing. So we use our GPS and we would identify the position, place the mark on the ground, and then we go back the very same survey session
and run it all again.
And survey it all over again, the entire parcel. So, and then we submit all this to government. Government checks through that we have done all these things, and then they're registered. So with our type of work that we do, and with government rigorous checking, then we produce an end product satisfying to the client, and that is why the government actually gives absolute title, right? And the title itself actually has the notation of the survey that we have done. Each survey is given a unique number, and the title has the survey number on it. So anybody could actually view the title and also see the survey reference number, and if they want to dig into the survey, then they could pull the survey number and just look.
Yep. And I would imagine that each of those titles will have the details of who registered the survey as well.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's my understanding that these surveys are obviously done with absolute accuracy, especially since you're registering with GPS.
Yeah.
Is there any type of accreditation or certification or anything that sort of validates the accuracy of such surveys?
Yes. The main thing is that the procedure. So the procedure is analyzed from the start to the very end. The start referring to the survey itself, and the process goes through the type, how we do it, the check-in, double working. Lands and Survey Department goes through a very detailed, rigorous check, and then they give back to us our survey plan after they have registered it. Once they give us the registered plan, if you are the owner, then we pass that plan on to you, and we show you the plan. The plan will have your area, the area of the parcel, and the dimensions, the distances, and the bearing and distances around it, and that will be final. And that's the documentation that you will receive for the survey.
It's very detailed. I think, in summary, is if there were to be an overseas investor who was looking to purchase land or property here in Cayman, when they receive their absolute title, their 100% freehold title, behind that absolute title, this rigorous amount of survey work should really put anybody's mind at ease that they've got secure boundaries, they've got a secure purchase of the land, right?
Absolutely, and unfortunately, they don't see the rigorous part of the process.
That's never the case.
No, they only see the final title, and this is why the government terms it as absolute title, right? Because of the work, the rigorous work that has taken place in the background, and they has deemed it to be final. Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, the work that you do, as you say, people don't really get to see the work you do, but we certainly wouldn't be able to do what we do as a developer without you, and we've had a long-standing relationship now from the very beginning. So I look forward to many more years ahead, and I thank you very much for your professional services.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Contact us today for more information.